Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Well, it's Boko Haram again, the Boko Haram problem. Sometimes we feel we're on top of the matter, and then Boko Haram will unfortunately prove that, we're still very much here. Long story short, the Borno State governor has had reason to, cry out, as it were, and say that Boko Haram is regrouping in Lake Chad and Mandara Hills. And so this is a problem. A group of northern governors, especially from the northeast, they actually had a meeting on this because it was such a serious problem. So when are we going to come out of this? And what can we do in the meantime? We'll talk as we go forward. And whereas the governors in that region, they actually are testifying that the federal government is doing very well, as much as it can do. But it's like they need a situation that is better than very well. That's how urgent the situation is. Okay, my guest this morning, Dr. Kabir Adamu, an old friend of the house, CEO of Beacon Consulting and an expert in security. Good morning to you, Dr. Kabir Adamu. Dr. Kabir Adamu, good morning to you, sir. Dr. Kabir Adamu, can you hear us?
Yes, Uncle Larry, I can hear you now.
Good morning to you, sir. Okay.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. All things considered, I guess I would have been a lot better if one could say that one had gotten on top of this Boko Haram challenge and that it's no more a problem, they've been routed. But it's not the case, as you well know. We have a situation where we will say that we have done the needful, Boko Haram has been dislodged, and then, from people who should know, governors in the northeast, they have said that, well, it's unfortunate, but that Boko Haram is regrouping in Lake Chad and Mandara Hills. So I guess the simplest question to ask you to start off with is, so why is this the case? We say we have defeated a problem, and then we have to come back and say that they seem to have come back, they've gotten on top of us. So, Dr. Adam, why can't we sort this out once and for all?
Once again, thank you, Uncle Yori.
Thank you, sir.
In simple response to your question, is because we have not suffocated the groups. We've allowed them to continue breathing the oxygen that would allow them to live and continue to propagate. There is a very interesting book that I would urge your listeners, your very ardent audience to please read. It's called How to End Terrorism. Now, in that book, all the recommendations did not focus on the role of the military. There are other components in any counterterrorism approach that is very important to, deliver the death blow, as it were, on the enemy. And I mean, this can be divided into three major components. Number one is to stop the generation of funding by these groups. Now, in the case of Nigeria, we have three instruments, Uncle Yuri, for counterterrorism. And I'll quickly mention them. It is the National Counterterrorism Strategy that was introduced in 2016. Then we have the Policy Framework on Countering Violent Extremism introduced in 2017. And then we have the Terrorism Prohibition and Prevention Law as amended in 2022. Now, these are the three instruments that we have for fighting terrorism. And in these three instruments, all of them speak about a whole of government and a whole of society approach. Unfortunately, the first challenge is that we have not evaluated the level of implementation of these instruments. The second challenge is that for some reasons, as a country, instead of pursuing the all of government and the all of society approach, we have focused more on the role of the military. And I must say with all sense of responsibility on Kuyuri, that our military deserves commendation. They are doing excellently well. But what we are expecting from them is beyond what they can deliver. Those who fashioned out and created these instruments never meant it to be a role for the military alone. Like I said, it's meant to be an all of government and an all of society approach. Now, like I was saying, the first expectation is to suffocate these groups through these three instruments. So block their ability to generate funding. Uncle Yuri, as at today, in parts of Borno State, these groups are still able to collect levies from the people. Farmers who need to farm, pay levies to them. Herders who need to move their herd or go to market to sell those herds must pay levies to this group. And then fishermen who go to fish, as you know, there is the Lake Chad and there is a lot of fishing activities going on there. They have to pay levies to this group. And by the time you put together these levies, you find that there is a lot of money. In fact, access to certain roads in Borno State, those who use those roads have to pay levies to this group. And then the most worrisome one is the kidnap or ransom component, where these groups collect ransom. I mean, I'm sure you've covered it in your program, where persons are abducted, including, most recently it was an engineer, a clergyman was arrested. Huge sums of monies were paid to these groups. And in fact, studies have shown the amount of money that is being paid to this group. So in simple terms, that ability to generate funding, we haven't stopped it. And so any group that is able to generate funding can regenerate. The second one is the ability to acquire the equipment, especially the weapons and the ammunition that they use for their operations.
Yes.
That ability is still there. They are able to acquire those weapons. They're able to acquire the ammunition that they use. In fact, recently we've also seen advancement. They are now using drones. They are adopting to the use of IEDs on the drones and deploying them. So not only that they have access to these weapons, they are increasing the use of technology. Then of course the last one is their ability.
Okay. Sorry. Just land on the last one.
Their ability to recruit new members. So as long as we don't stop these three components of the oxygen, that's why we continue to see the resurgence. And the point I'm making is that it is not the responsibility of the military to block this on oxygen. In course of the conversation, we'll discuss whose responsibility it is.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Kabir Adamu. And this is a fine point for me to introduce our other guest this morning, Dr. Felix Olonoda. He's also a security expert and CEO of SSV Protections Limited.
Services Limited.
SSV Protection Services Limited. Thank you very much, Dr. Olonoda.
Thank you.
You've heard what your colleague there has just said. And I was actually going to bring those other matters up. For instance, the whole matter about the technological improvement of Boko Haram. He was just telling us, and you might have read before then in the news reports, these people are now drone savvy. It is even alleged that they are better equipped in firepower than our soldiers.
Yes.
First of all, this is outrageous to me. Maybe because we are just bloody civilians. How can somebody who is a non-state actor now have superior firepower to an army, for instance? So what do you think, in addition, is going on?
Yes. I don't know whether you are just hearing that, because the former governor of now the vice president said it during Goodluck Jonathan, that the Boko Harams are better equipped.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
That they were better equipped than our soldiers.
Yes. But I know that the whole former situation.
Yeah, that was then. But the whole idea of Boko Haram is that is an ideology that is against Western
education.
So how come? And for them to have that is because they have international support.
It goes.
They have international support. There are people who are backing them. My colleague was talking about funding.
Yes.
That funding is not local funding. It's even international funding.
Now, because I was going to go there.
So It's not just because they are taxing farmers. They have international funding. They have international support. That's why they can use drones.
International funding and no doubt international technical support.
And now, added to that, the Northeast governors were saying they want to stop the menace of out-of-school children. Okay? Now, that is recruitment. Because out-of-school children, there are so many in the Northeast. Those are the ones feeding this Boko Haram. That's recruitment.
You know, there was a time when we were talking about repentant Boko Haram fighters, and we were cutting them some slack. We are all Nigerians, seeing if they could be rehabilitated and all of that. But we have since heard that these so-called rehabilitated terrorists have actually gone back into the forest, so to speak.
Because, you know, we have this in our own environment here. We don't have this able to sustain a policy. I mean, everything fits into the political agenda, or, you know, so this government start this policy, are they able to carry it through? The next government comes in, are they able to follow it through? So if we start the policy of repentant Boko Haram and you know, after they have left, are you following them up? Do you know, okay, so at the time they were even going to recruit them to the military. Until some people say, no, that's not true. These people have killed, they have, you know, killed our military. How can you ask them to come and join the military again? So it's our ability to set out a policy and for that policy to be followed through to its logical conclusion. That we don't have yet. And like he said, and that is part of what I'm going to echo here, it's not about just military alone. Because if you hear, oh, the people will start shouting, the media, the military, how many men do we have serving in our military? So if you dislodge them, do you have the men to hold the ground for a long time and sustain the disengagement that you have carried out? So you left the place, you ask the civilians to come back to their normal life, and so when the Boko Haram comes, they chase them out again.
There's no defense.
There's no defense.
Defenseless. And the roads that I think there was a communique that was issued, and they spoke about this, appealing to the government to please come and see what they can do about the roads, because when you send out an alarm that we are being attacked, they can't arrive for another 2 or 3 hours. And those people are very nimble on their feet.
Access. And you know, this Boko Haram, they are not going to, they use motorcycle, they know their terrain. And so when the military are coming to rescue, they can't even have access because the roads are bad.
Yes.
And you know, because I told you, I also worked in the military before. I was a serving soldier in Nigeria for many years, disengaged voluntarily. So I have my colleagues who fight in the Northeast. And they tell me, how do you go after these guys? They are coming after you. You are shooting at them, they are not running away. So it is something that is deeper than what the Nigerian public are aware of. So it has to be, it's not just about government.
Is the Nigerian military aware? If, as you said, the Nigerian ordinary public, so-called bloody civilians, as they used to joke back in the day, they might not be aware. But is the military high command aware that such technological prowess is in the hands of our enemy?
But the governor is the one that said it. The governor is the one that said it. The governor before this governor said the same thing. Now the vice president said they are better, and okay, the presidency or the spokesman say, how can you say that? You are not patriotic to say, but that is the governor. The current governor has said the same thing now, that they are using drones, and they cannot use them without having a international technical support.
Now, when we talk about drones, what are they using drones for? Because we know that depending on where you are, that is to say how technologically favored you are, drones can do all sorts of things.
Yes.
Are the drones fighting drones? Can they drop armaments? Can they drop bombs? Because people think of drones as an intelligence tool where let the drone go out there in the sky and spy for us where we cannot reach. Let us know the lie of the ground beyond our normal vision. So that's why I'm asking, do you have the information as to the kind of drones being deployed?
So that's what we need to, that's the conversation that we need to get deep in. Because drones do a lot of things. You have the ones that can do area survey for you, so that you know what is on ground, and they are the ones that you can deploy as a fighting force.
As a fighting force. So we saw
that after you have discovered where the enemies are, you send drone after them, remember, and to go and destroy them. So we don't know the ones that are already deployed, but according to the report I read about the governor, they are using the drone against our military already. Meaning that they are using this drone to fight our military.
Yes, it would seem so. Dr. Kabir Adamu, can you weigh in on this matter of drones, please? Because we hear these, and those of us that are non-professionals would perhaps naturally be curious about what kind of drones. We're just curious. What kind of drones are these? Is there any such thing as fighting drones, and what kind of drones are they using?
So from what we know, the drones they have access to now are commercially available drones.
Okay.
You know, those types you can buy off the shelf. But what they have done is to now put together IEDs. IEDs are improvised explosive devices that you know, individuals put together at home. So they put them together and then they tie them to these drones and then attempt to deploy them against our military you know, deployments within the theater of conflict. The technology is very crude. It hasn't advanced. And so, you know, the target is usually not acquired as against if it was a professionally developed drone and that is maybe guided by AI or in some instances, even an offensive one. So they don't have that capability yet. It's just, like I said, these are commercially off-the-shelf drones. But the other thing that is also important to note is that they use these drones to, you know, put surveillance on our troops. So, for instance, the drones can tell them, especially those that have camera, where our troops are, and then, of course, that means they can avoid being killed by the troops. They can also use them to assist communication for their, you know, various groups that they have on ground. If the troops are high, the drones are high, the drones can see far, and then through the images, they can communicate to their teams on ground, go this way, go that way, so that you avoid whatever it is that they want to avoid in those locations. So there are multiple usages to the drones they have now. But it's also important to note that the military is aware. The military has released statements acknowledging the use of these drones. At a point, it waived you know, it off as these are commercially available drones, and it's not worried. But for me, what is very important, Uncle Yuri, I've studied the war in Ukraine at the moment. The role of drones in that war was worried. And that means what we need to do is to strengthen our anti-drone capabilities. There is the technology, anti-drone technology, and there are different forms of that technology. So I think that should be our focus now. We should not pretend that the war will not go in the direction of usage of unmanned aerial vehicles. We should acknowledge it and then develop our anti-drone capabilities.
Let me just bring in something that you saw, and it might be technology that for the moment is beyond our range. Going back to the recent funeral of the late Pope, and we saw police in Italy, we saw them with a special kind of gun, rifle, so much so that it interested journalists who were, you know, approaching them and asking, what's this all about? They were said to be anti-drone, you know, specialist rifles that could intercept and bring down any drone that they saw. I'm sure you would have seen the news item yourself. Is that too far ahead for us in Africa, or what? Because we are spending a pretty penny on defenses.
It shouldn't be too far away. The fact that it is part of our operational, you know, conflict environment. What do I mean by that? The fact that we already have drones existing within our operational environment means we should have anti-drone capabilities. And like I said, there are different components. Let me give you a scenario of what is happening in Ukraine.
Okay.
Ukraine will deploy drones to Russian areas, you know, drop tracking devices on tanks. And then these tanks will go back to their bases. And then Ukraine will now deploy a fighter jet or some other form of equipment to now go and destroy those databases. So the point I'm trying to make is there are different usages that drones can be used for.
Indeed.
And the earlier we admit that and start developing that capability, the example you gave of a weapon, a gun that can shoot down drones, that's just one type of drone. There are types of drone that one would be useless for. One of the most effective ways of anti-drone capabilities is to jam whatever flying capabilities. Remember that a drone is an unmanned aerial, so there is a pilot somewhere, and that pilot is using a technology. So once you have the jamming capability for that technology, automatically that drone will come down. But in today's world, they also realize that, so they now have drones that are driven by pilots who use strings, not necessarily flying capabilities that can be jammed, as long as it's a string that is not really visible, to the ordinary person. And these drones can go to as far as 100 kilometers or even up to 200 kilometers. So the point I'm trying to make on theory, we should have capabilities. I use the word anti-drone capabilities. It starts from weapons like the guns you've described to young boys sitting in a room who now have jamming capabilities, and then to more superior technology. There are anti-drone flights that can actually target them. I think we saw that in a Russian video that they released not too long ago, where they purposely used another drone to jam into another drone. So we must have all sorts of capabilities, but the starting point is to admit and use intelligence what our enemies have, and then our capabilities should be such that we can neutralize the enemy's capabilities even before the enemy attacks us. If we wait until the enemy kind of attacks us, our intelligence capabilities are too. So our anti-drone capability is comprehensive.
All right then. Dr. Adamu and Dr. Oloruda in studio. I'll take a quick break now, and then I'll come back and I'll come over to you. Do please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every attack on oil and gas facilities is an attack on our commonwealth, and our environment suffers for it. The consequences are dire: environmental degradation, disruption of our agrarian culture, and economic hardship. Now, let's stand together against vandalism, crude oil theft, and illegal bunkering. Please report suspicious activities. Protect our commonwealth and environment, for the fate of our nation depends on it. This message is from Tantita Security Services, Nigeria Limited.
Okay, welcome back. Our guests this morning, two of them, both security experts. Dr. Kabir Adamu, he's joining us remotely, and Dr. Felix Oloruda, he is in studio with me here. Okay, so it's clear that there are so many aspects to the situation going on in the Northeast. On the one level, there's the war itself. They're coming, and we're doing our best to repel. But there's also what I think the Forum of Governors, they spoke that, they said that what you need to also do is don't just work on the kinetic strategy, but also address the root causes. And here they're talking about the intense poverty in certain areas over there, so many out-of-school children. And in short, there being a ready market for Boko Haram to recruit from. How big a worry is this?
It's a very big issue. And because I have been in the Northeast before. So, and you see, what do they call them? They call them Almajiri. You see them young teenage boys early in the morning with whatever they carry in their hands, looking for food,
begging
bowls, and going in their numbers. And when you ask, said they are Islamic, they are learning Islamic studies.
Because I was going to bring that
okay,
up,
and that they have to go and search for their livelihoods.
Of this system.
The system.
I have spoken on this desk here to a number of responsible citizens from the north who do not take kindly to the idea of doing away with Almajiris. They say they themselves were there once.
There and they graduated from there.
I'm a university graduate, but that is where I started from. So they feel that it is bad-mouthing unnecessarily the Almajiris.
But the governors, they were talking about it. Two things: insecurity and out-of-school children. That's
right. That's right.
Because the out-of-school children feeds the Boko Haram.
I was going to.
So, because he's talking about the three oxygen, the financial, the funding, recruitment, and maybe equipment or whatever. So, how do you stop them from getting local recruitment? People recruiting who believe in their logic. Because if they didn't go to school, they didn't have any future. They are male children, they are not sent to school, they are asked to go and be begging from there. And so they are used to hard life, so life does not have any meaning to them. So they can be recruited to do anything.
Okay, let me ask Dr. Kabir Adamu. As I said, Dr. Adamu, we have spoken before with prominent people who say that they themselves used to be, in the Almajiri system, in the youth. They've gone on from there, of course, so that they have, added Western education. So I wanted to ask you, this Almajiri system, would one be in error to say that it's a veritable recruiting ground? Because the defense of it is that, look, it's a traditional, educational, religious kind of a system. And because of that, you can't just wipe it out like that. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this whole concept? And can one refer to the Almajiri system, who have their own malams, who I think are teachers, can one refer to them as, out-of-school children?
Yes, let me start from your last question. The literal interpretation of Almajiri is student. The system was introduced at a time when the type of formal education that we have at the moment does not exist. And so there are very conservative people who still believe in that system. But then there are also increasingly progressive northerners, Muslims, who realize that that system is old-fashioned and it's not functional. It's not contributing to our development. And in fact, I must commend the Bola Tinubu Ahmed administration for creating the out-of-school and I think Almajiri commission. And that commission is now functional. It's running certain programs, including a model that I know it has started in the FCT, Federal Capital Territory, where it has gone to vulnerable communities and has captured out-of-school children, including the Almajiris, and it's now currently trying to educate them. So I think that's the way to go. Use different methods addressing the root causes. Like we've agreed, the root causes are religious, they are cultural. Poverty is another root cause. And so we must combine a hybrid of solutions that takes into consideration these causes, the traditional, the religious, the socioeconomic, and so that we can come up. I think the commission is a good way to go, but it must be properly funded. And I must also say, Uncle Yuri, I don't usually like using hard words, but because of the relevance of this topic, I'll use it. I would like to urge some of our governors to avoid this hypocritical approach where they shift the burden to the federal government. I don't think that's fair. Education, it's, as far as I know, not in the exclusive list. It is in the concurrent list. All segments of government, from the federal to the state to even the local government, have a role to play in educating our kids. We should not, in fact, we should declare a state of emergency as far as education is concerned, so that this unenviable stigma that we have as the world's capital for out-of-school children, we need to get out of it, Uncle Yuri, immediately. And it should be something that all the levels of government, including the national and state assemblies, should join together, and our philanthropists too. We have very rich people in Nigeria that should also join this cause, so that we get out of this unfortunate and an enviable position as the world's capital for out-of-school children.
All right, then. Well, Dr. Olorunda, you have the Northeast Development Commission, and it also featured in the deliberations of the governors from that region. Say, look, we know you guys, you can do a good job, but there's so many abandoned projects, and it's all leading into the state of roads. We spoke briefly about roads before.
Yes.
Apparently, roads can be a very strategic aspect of this fight against them. Now, I don't know. Roads are expensive. Roads are expensive to build, but look, there are roads elsewhere, and there is. One wants to hesitate from using the word abject poverty, because where is there not poverty? But up there, it's a very, very serious matter. Again, is this something that we can address, in a timely fashion? In the same way as we have been told that, look, we don't have enough boots, enough men to hold an area that has been liberated, call people to come back, and then hold it so that they can't come back. As soon as, the boots leave, those people, they've been watching through binoculars or through drones, they know that, they are tired, they have gone. Oh yeah, let's go back and continue. So we can't, increase the number of our men in a very, very short period. Soldiers have to be trained.
Minimum of 6 months.
Exactly. So all of that is going on. And then the same thing with roads. I don't imagine you can flood the place with excellent roads, which you said we've spoken about earlier. It's necessary. So do we have a situation where this is going to go on for as long as one can imagine, because these are immediate problems that cannot be addressed, and the terrorists are playing on that?
Yes, but I think we have to be realistic that this is going to be with us for some time. So it's not something
this
that...
situation,
situation of insecurity, and
it's going to be with us
it's
for a
going
while.
to be with us for a while. But what is important is that the political leadership must find a way to, because the government is it for the security of life and property of the people. First duty of any government. So now we have this with us. It's not, it started shortly before President Obasanjo left. And we saw it, and Buhari came, a retired military general, this is going to go away for 8 years. And now we are in another dispensation. So it is something that we must understand. I'm sure the military commanders also know that. But the thing is that there must be improvement. And that it's not just, we're talking about poverty, because everywhere you have this unemployment, out-of-school children, poverty, you are going to have insecurity. And you know that because of our kind of political leadership or persuasion that we pursue, you see that even some of our roads, not just in the northeast, all over the country. You travel even in the southwest, the roads are very bad. And those kidnapping that you see in the southwest are done on the roads. These spots that are bad. Yes. They just wait there. Yes. They don't need to do anything. You slow down, they point whatever weapon at you, they take you to the bush. So it's not just about northeast, it's all over the country. Even Abuja to Kaduna, kidnapping that were happening there, it was because the road was bad for a long time.
Okay. Ibrahim has called in Minna. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Ibrahim. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
And your guest there.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I think this issue of Boko Haram is taking too long a time. Yes. Yes. I think it's taking too long a time to find a solution to it. we see all the effort that have been made so far, and you can, from your byline, you are saying the grouping. Where are we when these people start the grouping and causing this havoc? The effort being made so far is like when a step, 2 steps forward and 4 steps backward.
Yeah.
And why is it happening? One, the issue is that all this while, in Southeast, we are able to identify the arrowhead of IPOB and you tackle them. In Yoruba land, we remember Iboho, Sunday Iboho, or something of that kind. We tackle them. Here in the north, all this while, they say they know the person, they know those who are involved, but it becomes very difficult to name them or arrest them. That is one. Secondly, you discover that when election is coming like this, you will see the issue of insecurity escalating. So we must have a way of finding a permanent solution. The issue of Almagiri that we have overemphasized. To me, Almagiri is an abnormal thing. I mean, it should not even come in this modern time. I know Kwankwaso in Kano, he tried as much as possible to make sure that he put a stop to it. So we have to identify where is the breeding ground for the Almagiris. The breeding ground is that you see somebody who is a security man, have 4 wives, have 22 children, that he knows he cannot take care of. Even we know that God is the one that gives these children, and they even fully believe that it is God that will come and feed them. It's not true.
Stay with me for a moment. Ibrahim, stay with me for a moment. Ibrahim, can you hear me? Ibrahim, stay with me for a moment. Just one sentence you added, you were speaking about there. You said when it comes to these political times, then we get an upsurge of this kind of a thing. Are you linking politics or politicians with the situation that we're talking about here?
Yes. Yes.
That's it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your call. Appreciate your call. That was one of the shortest answers I've ever got. Ibrahim said the short answer is yes. Dr. Kabir Adamu, whose turn is it? Because I'm linking between the two of you. Who did I speak with last? I'm so sorry about that. But Dr. Kabir Adamu, weigh in, if you will, on this whole question of when the political season is drawing near, then you get an upsurge in activity from these groups. First of all, is there any credence to that, to your mind?
No, definitely. I agree with the last speaker to the extent that political, factors are contributory to the security challenges that we have at the moment. But where I will differ with him is that we shouldn't think in silos. Just like political factors are contributory, there are several other factors. We have discussed some of them before now, but another one we haven't discussed are development in the region. Things that happened in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and how that is impacting Nigeria. The socioeconomic conditions too, environmental factors. So I think that's the only area I differ with him. But yes, political factors, including the early commencement of campaign, as it were, for the 2027 elections. These are all factors. And of course, the relationship between politicians and what I would describe as non-state armed groups, ethnic militias, gangs, cultists, that we know, unfortunately, politicians use from time to time, and especially in these periods when they want to exert influence, they do use them. Please, it's important to note that security was a factor in previous elections, and it will be a factor in the 2027 elections. Some would use it positively, others will use it negatively.
And Dr. Lawanda, this aspect of Nigerian politicians, actually, their hands are not clean.
Yes, like he said, that two things that politicians can use to demarket themselves. one government after another is security and the economy. There's hardship. So they campaign on that stuff and about also insecurity. So, it's a contributory factor. The politicians, we want to exploit that to demarcate the government as government. If they have, it is incumbent on the government in power to know that.
But people are dying. I mean, people
so,
are dying.
The politician will not stop at anything to capture power, because that is their main goal. And we see that this is what they are to do. So, but it's the government that is in power that will know, okay, our responsibility is to make sure that we secure it. And I've heard the National Security Advisor saying we will secure Nigeria. We will secure Nigeria. And he mentioned, that's why I said it's not something that we think should go, because there are other factors like environmental factor, economic, socio-economic factors. Even our immediate neighbor in the northeast or in the north, with their shift in their own, some of them have left ECOWAS, and we may not have that cooperation that we used to have with them before, to join hands with us in the MTF, in the multinational task force, to be able to fight this. So all of that will contribute to the spike that we see from the northeast.
Reverend Dominic, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Chief Yori. Good morning to your guests.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we heard you. Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Okay. There's an annoying statement I have heard from your guest this morning.
Okay.
There's an annoying statement I've heard from your guest this morning. That annoying statement is that Boko Haram is well equipped more than Nigeria army. It's very annoying.
It's what?
It's very
that Boko Haram is better equipped than the army,
than Nigeria army
in some instances.
It's annoying.
No,
it's insulting. It's embarrassing. How do you say that a man in the
Sorry, sir. Before you weigh in finally, can I just say that the forum, the governor, Governor Zulum, no less, has said what is annoying you so. He has said that they have superior firepower. So it's not one of my guests this morning, sir.
Okay. Can I answer you, sir?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. That governor, is this a stranger? How can you say that these people are more stronger than the man outside your studio? He knows better. How can you say a Rastak army in the bush is more equipped than the Nigerian army? Do you know how much we have put in this war for over 5 years? Even though these people are kidnapping every day, I think 100 million. It can't match Nigerian budget in 1 year. How on earth? The problem here is them, the politicians. Let me say this. You are since 15 years in this war. Tell me one man in life is sentences, or we are condemned to death for perpetrating this evil in Nigeria. I may not know. Nobody has been to prison. Nobody has convicted for 15 years of this dastard war. There's nobody has been in prison or condemned to death for perpetrating this war. Number two, the politicians are part of it. I've said this several times, Yori. Until the politicians in the north, both politicians, religious leaders, the experts in the studio, come into their house, tell themselves the full truth. And what is the truth? How much will be selling?
Okay. Sorry, we lost Reverend Dominic there, but he had delivered, the core of his message. Let me bring it to you, Dr. Adamu. Surely, Reverend Dominic won't understand as well as the governors in the region, and that particular, well, it wasn't a direct quote, but it is indeed a paraphrasing of what the governor said, that it is noted that today these people seemingly have superior firepower to the Nigerian army. And so he's annoyed as a patriot that, what are you saying? Why do you say a ragtag, as he put it, kind of a organization can be giving our people? I think we've tried to address this, so many ways in the past, but please relate to to Reverend Dominic's concern that he's very annoyed with people suggesting, even though it is the governor themselves that are stating as much, that the terrorists are better armed in some cases than our army. They won't have tanks, but they have enough to be worrying us and not letting us achieve our mission.
Let me say it categorically clear, Uncle Yori, the bad guys don't have as much weaponry as our military or our security forces. People tend to forget that we have about 27 to 29 ministries, departments, and agencies that are involved in security in Nigeria. The military is just 4 of those 27 or 29. If you put all of them together, in fact, if only the military, these bad guys don't have as much weaponry as they are. What they have instead is they are not trained. They are driven by ideological objectives. And so because they are not trained, you can imagine a situation, a military man would probably be given an AK-47. An AK-47 has 30 rounds in a magazine. The best circumstances that they will give him 2 magazines. Now, he would be structured in terms of how he responds. He would wait for orders. He would also shoot in a trained manner, but they don't do that. They, empty their round.
I get you. So the important thing, sorry, sir, for my interrupting you, and that's because simply that we've run out of time. So what you're saying is you're refuting that position that these terrorists are better equipped than the army. And that's why when I mentioned that particular point, I was saying in some instances, and you're just explaining that, well, the way of operating from conventional forces and all these ragtag forces is totally different. So I can understand that. Maybe it will satisfy Reverend Dominic as well. We're fast running out of time, so I wanted to bring it to you for you to also chip into this situation.
Okay, but you will remember that as at the time, they went to kidnap 276.
Okay, our girls.
Girls in Chibok. Under when Governor Shetima, now the Vice President, was governor, was when that conversation started. That how was it possible that they were able to do that? And some of those, and it took years, and I think up to now.
We haven't got
all of them back. So you cannot say they are this, they are this. They have network. It's not just about, you can look at them as a ragtag, but they have a network, international network.
They don't have tanks. They don't have surface-to-air missiles and all those kind of
But they have a network.
But they do have
international network to do what they are doing, to trouble us enough, to deny us our peace and progress as a nation.
Because we, as an army, the Nigerian army, cannot fight the way they fight.
They fight.
Definitely
they are not equipped, they can't be equipped as our army.
Okay.
But they were just there to cause us pain, sorrow, and slow down our development.
We'll keep on this. We've run out of time completely, but let me just start by thanking Dr. Kabir Adamu, CEO of Beacon Consulting, for coming on the program this morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Adamu. And also to thank you, Dr. Felix Olorunda, security expert yourself, and CEO of SSB Protection Services Limited. Thank you both, gentlemen. Really appreciate you coming on and airing this subject for us. Thank you very much. Okay, that's our program today then. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.